Young girls are the best. What? That's enough. I'm gonna date Ruby. Claire, you're no longer needed. Ryan laughed loudly. I couldn't hide my confusion at his behavior. Give it a break. There's no way Ruby would date someone like you. Huh? Ruby's pregnant with my child, isn't she? What am I supposed to do, not take responsibility? Stop kidding around. Leah stamped her foot in anger. But Ryan coolly replied to Leah. No use getting mad at me. Ruby was the one who came on to me. Ruby would never do such a thing. Not that it matters. I'm the one she approached. So it's true, and I've done nothing wrong. Ryan put his bag down on the table with a thud. Apparently, nothing got through to Ryan. Well, if that's how it is, I have a plan. I'll just give you time to think about what you've done. Of course, you don't have a say in this. You'll pay for having your way. I don't know what to do. You don't have to say that. I'll take care of getting us to where we need to go. I gently put my hand on Leah's shoulder. My name is Claire Brown. I work in the office at my father's construction company. I just turned 50 not long ago, and I've been thinking about taking it easy. But I can't quit my job. The reason is, my husband Ryan is unreliable. Ryan runs a small electronics store in town. He's the owner, but the business isn't doing well. Complaints from customers are increasing, while the amount of work seems to be decreasing. That's why I have to work hard. Otherwise, our household finances won't make ends meet. That's why I'm still working at this age. But it's not all doom and gloom in my life. Actually, my daughter Leah graduated from college and landed a job at a renowned apparel company. I'm a bit lonely with Leah's independence, but honestly, it's a relief. So, my only worry right now is Ryan. I'm not asking for much. Just that he works properly, that would be enough. But Ryan doesn't work seriously. That's why I always carry a lawyer's contact information in my pocket. I muttered sarcastically. I want to divorce, but somehow I can't bring myself to do it. For the past few years, that's the kind of indecisive life I've been leading. You might wonder why I married a man who doesn't work. It's not like Ryan was always unserious. My family runs a construction business. My father is a carpenter, and now my brother, Nathan, helps out too. My father's construction business and Ryan's electronics store have been working together for a long time. To put it simply, it's like this. First, my father's construction company takes on remodeling projects. But such work can't always be done by carpenters alone. Depending on the situation, people with qualifications in plastering, gas, or electrical work are also needed. That's when my father would call Ryan's electronics store for help. Initially, it was Ryan's father who did the work, but later Ryan took over. Anyway, it was through working together that my father noticed Ryan. You're a hard worker, so you'd be perfect as Claire's husband. Claire, that's your daughter, right? Yes. You're close in age, and she'd have no complaints, right? That was the start of our marriage. So, it goes without saying that Ryan was serious at first. I also thought he must be a good man since my father introduced him. But as we spent more time together after marriage, Ryan gradually began to show his true colors. By the time Leah was in elementary school, Ryan had started going out drinking night after night. Out drinking again? What's wrong with that? Just a little. Just a little. Aren't you drinking too much? When I frowned, Ryan retorted with an annoyed look. I'm working so we can live, aren't I? That's true, but Leah is still in elementary school, and we're going to need more money. I know that. Don't worry. Ryan laughed it off. I felt anxious, wondering if he really understood. A few weeks later, on a day off. During dinner preparations, someone suddenly came to visit. Who could it be on a holiday? I wondered and headed to the front door. Hearing outside, I saw an unfamiliar man in a black suit. Hello? I opened the door slightly and asked. The man responded in a low voice. Is Ryan Brown here? Do you have business with my husband? You're the wife? Then you'll do. I've come to collect your husband's debts. The man raised his voice. I quickly shut the door. With a loud bang, Ryan came rushing out from the living room, having heard the noise. What's wrong, Claire? Some stranger. He's demanding payment for your debts. Call the police right now. I was almost shouting. But there was no sign of Ryan moving. Wondering why, I noticed Ryan walking past me. He opened the door himself and started talking to the man outside. Could you wait just a moment? No way. I told you about today's deadline. The man shouted. Right then, Leah, who had followed Ryan, started crying. While comforting Leah, I watched the two men talking. It seemed like they were getting somewhere. Ryan has debts. As I stood there stunned, Ryan suddenly began to beg the man. I beg you. I have a daughter and expenses are high. The man's expression darkened. Seeing Leah crying, the man sighed. I'll give you one more week. With that, he slammed the door and left. Naturally, after the man left, I confronted Ryan. What were the debts about? Who was the man? I asked rapidly. Ryan tried to dodge the questions at first. But as I didn't let up, he finally relented. Just some bar tabs that piled up. It turned out someone from a bar had come to collect unpaid bills. I was relieved it wasn't someone dangerous. But at the same time, I was furious. Sort out the money yourself. And, if you get into debt again, I won't forgive you. Yeah, I won't get into debt again. Promise me. In the end, Ryan borrowed money from his parents to pay off the tab. Normally, after something like that, a person would become more responsible. But Ryan was different. Far from becoming serious, he started going out even more. Moreover, the money he brought home kept decreasing, probably because he was out having a good time. To make matters worse, complaints about Ryan's business began reaching our home phone. On top of that, I even heard complaints about his interactions with women. I continued to be troubled by such daily occurrences. Eventually, I reached my limit and confronted Ryan. Hey, why are complaints about your store coming to our house? Huh? Don't ask me about that. Is it true you asked a married woman out on a date? When I asked, Ryan's face changed color. He suddenly looked away and started laughing. That was, like a joke. A joke? You mean negotiating discounts in exchange for going on a date with you? No, it's just that. Ryan began to stutter out excuses. But none of them seemed truthful. As I listened to his excuses with a look of disbelief, Ryan suddenly got angry. Are you even listening to me? I am listening. Liar. You looked distracted. Ryan raised his voice. He always gets loud when things don't go his way. A bad habit of his. But that also proved my suspicions were right. Those complaint calls were true. While Ryan was making a scene, I was thinking about this. After that argument, our relationship only got worse. Even the smallest things would quickly escalate into arguments. Isn't dinner ready yet? You're not bringing in any money, so I had to start working too. Just wait a bit. Huh? What's with that tone? Are you looking down on me? As usual, Ryan raised his voice when things didn't go his way. Maybe my tone was a bit harsh. But I was fed up with him not contributing to the household expenses. So, a little retaliation felt justified. Leah started to make faces too, perhaps because she saw me doing the same to Ryan. By the time she was in high school, her attitude towards him became even colder. As soon as Ryan came home, she would retreat to her room, no matter what she was doing. Hey, Leah. Where are you going? To my room. Are you studying? Yeah. Leah muttered softly and locked herself in her room. Ryan was angered by Leah's attitude. What's with that behavior? What does she think of her father? I thought to myself, she probably doesn't even consider you a father, but of course, I couldn't say that. Regardless, such a home environment couldn't be good for Leah. I had begun to consider divorce faintly. In the meantime, Leah became a college student. After much thought, I had this conversation with Leah.
With your dad being like that, why don't you try living on your own? He hardly comes home these days, and I'm worried about you, Mom. I'd rather stay here.
Leah's words made me tear up. Indeed, Ryan hardly came home lately. And when he did, it was just to demand money from me. So, I decided to respect Leah's wishes.
If that's what you want, then that's fine.
Yay! Oh, can I bring a friend over sometime?
Sure, when Ryan's not around.
I know. It was a few days after this conversation that Leah brought her friend Ruby over. Initially, I was taken aback when I saw Ruby for the first time. She had flashy blonde hair and heavy makeup. But after talking to her, I realized she was just a normal, serious, and nice girl. Ruby began visiting our house frequently after that. Because of this, Ruby and I also became close.
Here, have some cake. Oh, thank you. Are you sure?
I got it from my part-time job. As we were having that conversation, Leah puffed out her cheeks. Ruby's my friend. Why does she seem closer to you, Mom?
Because she's such a good kid. I'd like her to be my daughter.
What? Am I not enough for you? We could laugh about such things, showing how well Ruby had fit into our home. Then one day, right after arriving, Ruby said to Leah, I just saw your dad over there.
What?
Leah was at a loss for words. But Ruby continued calmly. He seemed nice. Said he had to go to work.
Ruby, please, don't get involved with him.
Why?
Just don't, okay?
Leah spoke in an unusually firm tone. Surprised, Ruby just nodded silently. Maybe Leah's warning worked, as Ruby never mentioned Ryan again. Years passed, and both Leah and Ruby graduated from college. Leah secured a job at an apparel company, and Ruby began working at a cell phone shop. Their relationship remained unchanged despite working at different places. Ruby still visited our home frequently. But soon after, Ruby suddenly stopped coming. I wonder if something happened. I was worried about Ruby. I was hoping everything was fine when I came home from work to find Leah standing in the living room, her face filled with fear. She was holding her smartphone tightly, not even bothering to change out of her work clothes.
What's wrong, Leah?
Mom. Actually. She turned around, her eyes brimming with tears. I could tell this was no trivial matter. Intuitively feeling this, I sat down to calm Leah. Eventually, Leah began to speak. Ruby is pregnant.
Oh, that's...
I was about to congratulate her but stopped myself. Leah's frightened expression was out of place for such supposedly happy news. As I hesitated, Leah started explaining. The story dated back a little. It was about the last day Ruby came to our house. After leaving our place, Ruby apparently met Ryan outside. Out of respect for Leah's father, Ruby engaged in conversation with him. That's when Ruby mentioned her air conditioner was malfunctioning. Ryan said, As a friend of Leah's, I'll check it out for free. Trusting his words, Ruby took Ryan to her place. And there, according to Leah, something terrible happened. In essence, Ruby was deceived and mistreated by Ryan. I was speechless. I felt a surge of anger towards Ryan's cruel actions. As we were talking, Ryan, unusually, came home. Leah ran to confront him.
Wait, Leah!
I hurried after her, but Leah was already confronting Ryan.
You! What did you do to Ruby?
Huh? What are you talking about?
Ruby's pregnant. She said you might be the father.
Ryan's eyes widened. But then he sighed, almost defiantly. So, it's out, huh?
What? What's with that attitude?
Leah raised her voice. I, too, full of rage, confronted Ryan.
Is this true? Answer me. What were you thinking?
With a smirk, Ryan replied. Young girls are the best.
What?
That's enough. I'll date Ruby. Claire, you're no longer needed. Ryan laughed loudly. I was dumbfounded.
Stop it. There's no way Ruby would date someone like you.
Huh?
Ruby's pregnant with my child, right? How am I supposed to act if I don't take responsibility? Stop joking around.
Leah stamped her foot. But Ryan calmly retorted to Leah.
No use getting mad at me. Ruby came to me first. Ruby would never do that. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you because she approached me. So, it's true, and I've done nothing wrong.
Ryan slammed his bag onto the table as if to make a point. It seemed nothing I said had any impact on him. But I had a plan for that. I'll just give him time to think about what he's done. Of course, he doesn't have the right to refuse. He's going to pay for doing whatever he wants. I don't know what to do. You don't need to say that. I'll take care of getting us where we need to go. I gently placed my hand on Leah's shoulder.
Leah, I'm sorry. I should have left Ryan sooner.
I glared at Ryan. But Ryan just retorted nonchalantly.
What? You think you're the one to leave me? Of course. You haven't been doing your job properly, have you? What did you say?
Ryan bristled. I looked away as I spoke.
I'm divorcing you. From now on, I won't give you a single penny.
Until now, Ryan had occasionally come home, taken money from me, and left. But it was my indulgence that led to Ruby getting hurt. It was all my fault. I took it easy, thinking he hardly came home. So first, I need to cut off Ryan's source of funds. Divorce is the best option for that.
You think you're the only source of my income? I don't just live off the money you give me. Then, it's settled. We'll get a divorce. I'm glad you agree.
I reached into my pocket. I showed him the lawyer's contact who assists divorce and the forms.
Contact this lawyer right now. Hey, are you serious?
Ryan suddenly became hesitant. He must have thought I was only bluffing. Seeing him break into a cold sweat, I forcefully handed him the forms.
Sign it. Fine, fine.
Ryan shouted, clearly upset. That meant it was inconvenient for Ryan. But it has to be this way, otherwise it would be a problem. This is just the beginning, after all. Ryan quickly finished signing. I quickly snatched up the form. Furthermore, I checked for any missing entries. Then I said to Ryan, "We're strangers now. We're leaving."
Fine, do whatever you want. I don't care if you're gone.
Ryan blustered.
I never thought I'd be so frustrated that I couldn't legally sever the parent-child relationship. What did you say? From now on, you're a stranger to me.
Leah abruptly turned her back on Ryan. She ran into her room. The sounds of rustling from Leah's room suggested she was packing her things. I sighed and said to Ryan,
I'll take only what I need and leave. I'll arrange for movers to get the rest later. Yeah, do whatever you want.
Ryan pretended to be unfazed. So, I decided to give him a final warning.
The crime you committed is serious. Either pay alimony or face arrest, those are your only choices. Ugh. Shut up. It's none of my business.
Ryan, almost shouting, picked up his bag that he had previously slammed onto the table.
I'm going out, so lock the door.
He bellowed and quickly left the house. I sighed and returned to my room. Afterward, I packed our things, and Leah and I went back to my parents' house. When we arrived, my father and brother were both shocked. But I didn't want to discuss the reason in front of Leah.
Go take a shower.
But Leah looked hesitant. Sensing something, my father said,
Don't be shy, Leah. You can relax. Then, I'll take you up on that offer.
Her somewhat formal response noticeably puzzled my father. The moment Leah left, my father approached me.
What happened, Claire? Was there something you couldn't even contact us about?
Well, yes. Actually. I started by telling him about Ryan getting Ruby pregnant, emphasizing that it wasn't consensual. I also spoke about Ryan's bad behavior, his verbal abuse towards us. And finally, Ryan had agreed divorce. My father listened silently, then let out a deep sigh, clenching his fists and struggling to speak.
That bastard, doing such a ridiculous thing.
Obviously, my father felt guilty for having introduced Ryan to me.
Well, that's the situation. Please, take care of Leah more than me. I understand. I'll help with anything I can. Thank you, Dad.
After that, I decided to take a shower and rest. The next day, Leah came to me after waking up.
Mom, there's something I want to ask.
Leah whispered her plan in my ear. It was a revenge plan against Ryan.
Like that. Will you help me?
Of course. According to Leah, Ruby was also involved in the plan. She said she'll bring him down herself. We had to do what we could for Ruby, who had been hurt. Feeling guilty towards Ruby, I was determined to help. The first thing we did was conduct a behavior investigation on Ryan. Leah and her acquaintance, Cameron, who apparently works in a detective agency, took charge of this. Cameron apparently works at a detective agency. Perfect for the job. Meanwhile, I hurried to my father. Then, I approached my father with a request.
Can you please not give Ryan any more work in the future? I want to financially corner him.
I continued, explaining it was part of Leah and Ruby's plan. Dad agreed immediately.
Leave it to me. Losing work from us will certainly have a significant impact.
Of course, it wouldn't cut off all his work. But it would surely affect him. His reputation with clients was already deteriorating, so Ryan facing financial hardship was inevitable.
Now Ruby just has to do her part.
What Ruby was doing was something only she could handle. I was worried, but Ruby was strong. Ruby can do it. I believed in her. Eventually, the results of Ryan's behavior investigation came in. They were damning to the extreme. Multiple affairs and debts.
He's truly hopeless.
Exactly.
But that works better for us.
Leah quickly put the report in her bag.
What are you going to do with that?
This?
I'm going to distribute it to everyone.
Distribute? I asked, puzzled, and Leah explained in detail. The investigation revealed Ryan's affairs. Most of these women probably think they're the only ones dating him. We plan to inform them of the truth. Also, we will tell them about his debts.
We'll even tell the people at his favorite places. Why? If they know he has debts, they'll start collecting the unpaid bills he owes them, right?
That would leave Ryan's wallet empty. Desperate, he would have no choice but to come to us. That was Leah's plan. However, we had no intention of lending him any money. It was just a means to lure him. The final blow will be when he comes to us for help, Leah said, smirking. Indeed, once the plan was set in motion, the shops started collecting their debts. Ryan must have been confused. Suddenly being pressed for payment everywhere he went. The collections were quite aggressive. Just a few days after Leah took action, Ryan contacted us.
Claire? Can we talk?
Ryan hesitated over the phone. I almost burst out laughing, knowing the reason.
What's wrong?
Suppressing my laughter, I waited to hear what Ryan had to say. Then, shamelessly, Ryan said,
Can you lend me some money? I've had some heavy expenses recently.
It's not expenses, it's debt repayment, isn't it? I almost blurted that out. But I held it back. Then, I asked him.
I thought you said you wouldn't be troubled without us.
Well, Ryan hesitated for a moment. But soon, he raised his voice.
Yeah, a little help would be fine. Haven't I supported you all this time?
What?
You're the one who has been living off me. That's not true.
Ryan started to retort, but I raised my voice first.
Not a penny for the house. Yet you had the nerve to beg for money. That is, just pay off your own debts. And remember, I'll be demanding alimony for the divorce.
I said, and Ryan fell silent.
After a while, he shouted back, "Shut up! I don't need your help anymore." With that, the phone call ended. I wondered how long his bravado would last. I muttered to myself. For a few days, there was no contact from Ryan. But about a week later, he called again. "Help me, Claire!" "What's wrong? Finally run out of money?" As soon as I asked, Ryan started to panic. "No! I'm being chased by women. What did you do?" So many affairs had been exposed. While thinking that, I answered, "You got what you deserved. You should be cornered financially and socially." "Don't be so cold. Please, hide me. It's all right, isn't it?" How can he be so self-serving? I wondered. But, clearly, he was desperate. Then, I decided it was time for the final stage. "I'll lend you some money. Come to our place to get it." "Money, that won't solve." "That's your only option. Leah is at Ruby's now, this is your last chance." After I said that, Ryan fell silent. He must have been thinking. I hope he doesn't realize. I kept wishing nervously. "All right. I'll be there at 7 p.m. tonight." Ryan said only that and hung up abruptly. We did it. It worked. He had fallen right into our plan. I was certain of it. Telling Ryan that I would lend him money when he's in trouble was exactly as Leah and Ruby had planned. Saying this would surely bring Ryan to the house. In reality, it was part of a plan to hand him over to the police. Moreover, when the plan was set in motion, Ruby had gone to the police station. There, she filed a complaint. So, Ryan was supposed to be arrested. I quickly contacted Leah. "I'll come over right away." After contacting Leah, I called the police station. I explained the situation and a few officers agreed to come over. So, with Leah, Ruby, and a few officers, we waited for Ryan to arrive at the house. Eventually, the appointed time came. However, Ryan did not show up. "Hey, maybe we've been fooled." "But he should be in trouble without money," I said, though my heart was filled with anxiety. Maybe Ryan had figured out the plan. What to do if that was the case? My heart felt like it was about to burst. Then, my phone started ringing. I answered the phone, thinking it was him. But it wasn't Ryan on the other end. "Huh? Police!" I blurted out, inadvertently glancing at the police officers standing behind me. The caller was a different officer from the ones at my house. They reported that a suspicious individual had been apprehended at an apartment complex. This individual turned out to be none other than Ryan. "Why would this happen?" The words just blurted out of my mouth. But after listening to the police officer's explanation, it made sense. Ryan had been arrested at an apartment complex well known to Leah and Ruby. To be precise, it was the complex where Ruby had lived until recently. Ryan, thinking Ruby was there, had broken into the apartment she had rented. However, Ruby wasn't there. She wasn't with us either. She had already moved out of that apartment. For Ruby, it was the room where she had unpleasant memories associated with Ryan. There's no way she would stay in such a place forever. Of course, she had moved out before the pregnancy was even discovered. Ruby is now living elsewhere with Leah. Which Ryan didn't know. I rushed to the scene with the police officers already at my house. When we arrived, Ryan was being put into a police car. An officer asked me, "Are you this man's wife?" "No, his ex-wife," I replied, somewhat irritated. Ryan noticed me and called out, "Claire! You came!" I had no choice. "Help me out here. I just mistook her apartment, explain that to them." He meant Ruby. After a bit of thought, I realized he was referring to her. "What are you talking about? You two aren't in that kind of relationship." Hey, are you trying to frame me? Cut it out, will you?" That's my line. I lost my patience and blurted out, "Ruby filed a complaint against you. No matter what you say, you're doomed to be arrested." "What? Really?" Ryan was dumbfounded. At the same time, things were wrapping up behind me. One of the police officers who had come with me quietly got into the patrol car. He took out an arrest warrant from his pocket and made sure Ryan understood it clearly. What happened next was predictable. Ryan was arrested on the spot. Arrested by the police, he was charged with crimes like trespassing. Of course, the incident with Ruby was included. Further investigation revealed his deception of other women. In other words, marriage fraud. Apparently, he had also been involved with married women. Ultimately, Ryan was prosecuted for multiple crimes and received a prison sentence without probation. Moreover, he faced civil lawsuits from various parties involved. Thus, he truly faced financial and social punishment. Now, Ryan is in prison. I want him to truly grasp the enormity of his crimes. And I sincerely hope he reflects deeply on his actions. I genuinely feel this way. The story jumps back and forth a bit, but after Ryan was arrested, Ruby safely gave birth to a baby boy. I think she had the option not to have the baby. But Ruby told us, "This baby is my precious." I felt deep respect for her. But there was actually a reason why Ruby said that. She had a DNA test done on the baby during her pregnancy. It turned out that the baby's father was Ruby's boyfriend. Apparently, her boyfriend had expressed his desire to support Ruby, and they decided to have the baby together. Now, Ruby and her boyfriend are struggling together with parenting. I wonder what Leah thinks seeing them. When I asked, she said something like this: "I plan to marry Cameron too." It seems that Cameron is her boyfriend. I felt somewhat relieved. I had thought that this whole ordeal would make Leah pessimistic about marriage, so her answer was the most delightful.